The Heroes of Olympus, Book 5, The Blood of Olympus, by Rick Riordan. Chapter 56, Nico. At dawn, he was still awake when someone rapped at the door. He turned, registering a face with blonde hair, and for a split second he thought it was Will Solis. When Nico realized it was Jason, he was disappointed. Then he felt angry with himself for feeling that way. He hadn't talked to Will since the battle. The Apollo kids had been too busy with the injured. Besides, Will probably blamed Nico for what happened to Octavian. Why wouldn't he? Nico had basically permitted whatever that was. Murder by consensus, a gruesome suicide. By now, Will Solis realized just how creepy and revolting Nico D'Angelo was. Of course, Nico didn't care what he thought, but still. "You okay?" Jason asked. "You look fine," Nico snapped. Then he softened his tone. "If you're looking for Hazel, she's still asleep." Jason mouthed, "Oh," and gestured for Nico to come outside. Nico stepped into the sunlight, blinking and disoriented. Ugh. Perhaps the cabin's designers had been right about the children of Hades being like vampires. He was not a morning person. Jason didn't look as though he'd slept any better. His hair had a cowlick on one side, and his new glasses sat crookedly on his nose. Nico resisted the urge to reach out and straighten them. Jason pointed to the strawberry fields, where the Romans were breaking camp. "It was strange to see them here. Now it'll be strange not seeing them." "Do you regret not going with them?" Nico asked. Jason's smile was lopsided. "A little, but I'll be going back and forth between the camps a lot. I have some shrines to build." "I heard the Senate plans to elect you Pontifex Maximus." Jason shrugged. "I don't care about the title so much. I do care about making sure the gods are remembered. I don't want them fighting out of jealousy anymore, or taking out their frustrations on demigods." "They're gods," Nico said. "That's their nature." "Maybe, but I can try to make it better. I guess Leo would say I'm acting like a mechanic, doing preventive maintenance." Nico sensed Jason's sorrow like an oncoming storm. "You know, you couldn't have stopped Leo. There's nothing you could have done differently. He knew what had to happen." I guess. I don't suppose you can tell me if He's gone," Nico said. "I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I sensed his death." Jason stared into the distance. Nico felt guilty for squashing his hopes. He was almost tempted to mention his own doubts. What a different sensation Leo's death had given him, as if Leo's soul had invented its own way into the underworld, something that involved lots of gears, levers, and steam-powered pistons. Nevertheless, Nico was sure Leo Valdez had died, and death was death. It wouldn't be fair to give Jason false expectations. In the distance, the Romans were packing up their gear and toting it across the hill. On the other side, so Nico had heard, a fleet of black SUVs waited to transport the Legion cross-country back to California. Nico guessed that would be an interesting road trip. He imagined the entire 12th Legion in the drive-thru lane at Burger King. He imagined some hapless monster terrorizing a random demigod in Kansas, only to find itself surrounded by several dozen carloads of heavily armored Romans. "Ella the Harpy is going with them, you know," Jason said. "She and Tyson. Even Rachel Elizabeth Dare. They're going to work together to try to reconstruct the Sibylline books." "That should be interesting." "Could take years," Jason said. "But with the voice of Delphi extinguished." "Rachel still can't see the future?" Jason shook his head. "I wish I knew what happened to Apollo in Athens. Maybe Artemis will get him out of trouble with Zeus, and the power of prophecy will work again. But for now, those Sibylline books might be our only way to get guidance for quests." "Personally," Nico said, "I could do without prophecies or quests for a while." "You've got a point." He straightened his glasses. "Look, Nico, the reason I wanted to talk to you... I know what you said back at Oster's Palace. I know you already turned down a place at Camp Jupiter. I probably can't change your mind about leaving Camp Half-Blood, but I have to... I'm staying." Jason blinked. "What?" "At Camp Half-Blood. The Hades cabin needs a head counselor. Have you seen the decor? It's disgusting. I'll have to remodel. And someone needs to do the burial rites properly, since demigods insist on dying heroically." That's fantastic! Dude!" Jason opened his arms for a hug, then froze. "Right, no touching. Sorry." Nico grunted. I suppose we can make an exception. Jason squeezed him so hard, Nico thought his ribs would crack. Oh man, Jason said. Wait till I tell Piper. Hey, since I'm all alone in my cabin too, you and I can share a table in the dining hall. We can team up for Capture the Flag and sing-along contest and... Are you trying to scare me away? Sorry. Whatever you say, Nico. I'm just glad. The funny thing was, Nico believed him. Nico happened to glance toward the cabins and saw someone waving at him. Will Solis stood in the doorway of the Apollo cabin, a stern look on his face. He pointed to the ground at his feet, like, you. Here. Now. Jason, Nico said, would you excuse me? So where were you? Will demanded. He was wearing a green surgeon's shirt with jeans and flip-flops, which was probably not standard hospital protocol. What do you mean? Nico asked. I've been stuck in the infirmary for like 2 days. You don't come by. You don't offer to help. What? Why would you want a son of Hades in the same room with people you're trying to heal? Why would anyone want that? You can't help out a friend? Maybe cut bandages, bring me a soda or a snack? Or just a simple, how's it going, Will? You don't think I could stand to see a friendly face? What? My face? The words simply didn't make sense together. Friendly face, Nico D'Angelo. You're so dense, Will noted. I hope you got over that nonsense about leaving Camp Half-Blood. Yeah, I did. I mean, I'm staying. Good. So you may be dense, but you're not an idiot. How can you even talk to me like that? Don't you know I can summon zombies and skeletons and... Right now, you couldn't summon a wishbone without melting into a puddle of darkness, D'Angelo, Will said. I told you, no more underworldy stuff. Doctor's orders. You owe me at least 3 days of rest in the infirmary. Starting now. Nico felt like 100 skeletal butterflies were resurrecting in his stomach. 3 days? I suppose that would be okay. Good. Now, a loud whoop cut through the air. Over by the hearth in the center of the common, Percy was grinning at something Annabeth had just told him. Annabeth laughed and playfully slapped his arm. I'll be right back, Nico told Will. Promise on the sticks and everything. He walked over to Percy and Annabeth, who were both still grinning like crazy. Hey, man, Percy said. Annabeth just told me some good news. Sorry if I got a little loud. We're going to spend our senior year together, Annabeth explained, here in New York. And after graduation... College in New Rome! Percy pumped his fist like he was blowing a truck horn. 4 years with no monsters to fight, no battles, no stupid prophecies. Just me and Annabeth, getting our degrees, hanging out at cafes, enjoying California. And after that... Annabeth kissed Percy on the cheek. Well, Raina and Frank said we could live in New Rome as long as we like. That's great, Nico said. He was a little surprised to find that he meant it. I'm staying too, here at Camp Half-Blood. Awesome, Percy said. Nico studied his face, his sea-green eyes, his grin, his ruffled black hair. Somehow, Percy Jackson seemed like a regular guy now, not a mythical creature, not someone to idolize or crush on. So, Nico said, since we're going to be spending at least a year seeing each other at camp, I think I should clear the air. Percy's smile wavered. What do you mean? For a long time, Nico said, I had a crush on you. I just wanted you to know. Percy looked at Nico, then at Annabeth, as if to check that he'd heard correctly, then back at Nico. Yeah, Nico said. You're a great person, but I'm over that. I'm happy for you guys. So you mean... Right. Annabeth's gray eyes started to sparkle. She gave Nico a sideways smile. Wait, Percy said. So you mean... Right, Nico said again. But it's cool. We're cool. I mean, I see now. You're cute, but you're not my type. I'm not your type. Wait, so... See you around, Percy, Nico said. Annabeth. She raised her hands for a high five. Nico obliged. Then he walked back across the green, where Will Solis was waiting.